Happy Tuesday, October 28th. We were all just talking about the day after the long marathon Blue Jay game, so hopefully today they can rebound and all of Canada is watching. So let's get into our agenda. We have Councillor Pierce online today. Everybody else is present and Spencer has taken attendance. For the agenda, we would like to add an item under other business. We have a request to help support a plaque for the auxiliary anniversary in the detachment. And it's not included in this year's budget, so Cindy's advised that we should discuss it to make sure that it's in line with everybody's thinking. And then Spencer's already has 11.1 for Remembrance Day services, but we will also discuss the cost of the wreaths at the same time. So wanted to make sure that everybody knew there'd be some discussion on budget at that time as well. Any other items to add to the agenda today? Okay, seeing none, we'll ask for, thank you, Mayor Bailey, and seconded by Member Boudreau to approve the amended agenda. All those in favor? And that's carried, thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interests at this time? Seeing none. This morning, as part of our ongoing education efforts and community awareness, community service agency awareness efforts, Acting Inspector McTaggart's organized a presentation from the group from SOAR, and I'm going to introduce Julie Smith and Chantel. I can't read because my eyes are so blurry this morning. Dungy. I was going to say Dungay, but that wouldn't have been right. Dungy. So Julie Smith and Chantel Dungy from SOAR Community Services, Crisis Services, and they help us with the COAS and the MCERT program. So I'm going to ask if you ladies would like to join us at the podium, and we have your slide deck in our package as well. You'll have it up online.
Is it green? Okay. Okay, thank you, Inspector McTaggart, for inviting us to come and discuss and share our COAST and MCERT programs. My name's Julie Smith. I'm the Director of Services for Crisis Services and our Concurrent Disorders program. And this is Chantel Dungy, our Manager of Crisis Services. SOAR Community Services, formerly known as St. Leonard's, many of you might have heard that before. We're a registered not-for-profit agency serving the community since 1968. We have multiple locations throughout Brantford, Brant, and Haldimand counties, and we're accredited in child and youth mental health, community mental health and addiction services, and youth justice services through the Canadian Centre for Accreditation.
Sorry, does this move the slide?
Sorry.
So I can see.
Sorry, I'm bad at talking and doing slides.
Okay,
thank you. Our agency's purpose statement is to support people to achieve new heights, doing this by delivering quality services, coordinating care, partnering with others, supporting staff, and continuously improving our services. Our organization is approximately 280 employees providing services across 4 different sectors: addictions and mental health, housing, employment, and justice services. Our crisis service continuum consists of 4 main components. Today we're going to be talking about COAST and MCERT, but I'll also touch on 2 others. One is our immediate telephone crisis counseling service. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's always open, stat holidays, etc. And we are also a partner of 988. I'll just go one more thing to add, our mental health walk-in clinic. So we do have a walk-in clinic available on Mondays and Wednesdays, 2 till 7 p.m., located at 133 Elgin in Brantford. Individuals can walk in, access service for whatever they deem to be in crisis at the moment. So crisis is broad, but it could be a situational crisis, maybe a system navigation challenge, just needing support in the moment. and we would provide that and connect services if that's what they're needing. The other two, Chantel's going to cover.
Yeah. So that leads us in to talk a little bit about our COAST team. So it's a crisis outreach and support team. So we're a short-term crisis stabilization program. We're meant to be secondary follow-up following crisis in the community. For adults, we offer up to 3 sessions. The whole idea is to help the individuals build coping skills, safety planning, and then referring onward to longer-term services. For youth, we offer up to 5 sessions. We're not an immediate response, and we offer follow-up within 48 hours of the referral. So we will make contact with the referrals within 24 to 48 hours when we receive them. Sorry. We are like common connections that we make in the community are to ongoing counseling, financial services, assisting with basic needs, connection to primary care. Some of the agencies or services in town that you would know of that we connect with are the RAM Clinic, Grand River Community Health Center, Willow Bridge, Nova Vita, Woodview for youth counseling as well. So again, we do provide those suicide risk assessments in the COAST program. We create those safety plans with individuals, provide therapeutic intervention strategies to utilize, the individuals to utilize in those crisis situations. All the services that we offer through COAST are voluntary, which means we do need consent from the individual for them to participate in the program. And when the police and or the mental health specialist respond to the emergency calls, they will obtain consent from the individual when they're on that call. Okay, and some of our, just a note here, internal referrals to SOAR. We make a lot of referrals for individuals as well. We have withdrawal management, housing, concurrent disorders counseling, employment, and then we also offer the crisis line and walk-in, as Julie had talked about. Okay, so this is just showing a little bit of stats for our COAST referrals from O.P.P. This is in comparison to last year's stats compared to this year. We're only about 6 months into this year, so that's what we're showing there in regard to the referrals. So as you can see, last year it was 143 in total, and this year so far we're at about 56. This is showing the COAST O.P.P responses and follow-up. So this is, these are the appointments that we would offer to individuals in the community. Again, just a comparison to, this is last year's stats. For youth, we had about 62, and then for adult, we had about 109. And then comparing it to this year's, we have about 15 for youth, and then 57 for adults so far. Okay, so that leads us into just a little bit of an overview of our MCRT team. This is a mobile crisis response team. So Brant County has one MCRT team. The team consists of a uniformed police officer, O.P.P officer, and a SOAR mental health specialist. The team is available from Monday to Friday on a 2-week rotation, 1 week 9 to 5 and the other 2 to 10. They also offer a COAST response as well through Brant O.P.P. This team assesses risk to safety of self and others, provides on-site safety planning, de-escalation, and referrals to community partners or to COAST for continued follow-up. The whole idea is we want to be able to connect individuals to services in the community, in looking at diverting them to hospital if that is a possibility. If they are a harm to themselves and they're not able to safety plan with the individual, they will take them to hospital. Okay.
Okay, and just a few more slides on some data. MCRT O.P.P service calls for last year, there were 23 in total for youth and 115 for adults. For this year, the 6 months in, 5 for youth and 43 for adult. Hospital diversion rates, comparing, this is last year, for youth, 91%, adult, 78%, and this year, for youth, 71% diverted from hospital and 81% for adults. Admission rates, so these would be individuals that were apprehended and taken to hospital. The admission rates for those individuals, last year 100% for youth and 68% for adult. This year, 30% for youth and 100% for adult. So youth numbers are low. It's likely why the data is that way. And I think that takes us to the end of our presentation. Any questions?
Oh, I'm sure there'll be lots of questions.
Okay.
In a good way, in a good
Okay,
way. Good
good.
conversation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Maybe before we get into anything, could I just ask you to clarify, maybe because I'm just focusing on the last slide you just talked about, can you clarify the admission rates, diversion rates? So we have a service call, I think I understand that. And then diversion rate, meaning what versus admission rate? Just so I can clarify in my brain what each of those things mean.
I believe it's the number of individuals that were not taken to hospital, that were seen and not taken. So we've diverted individuals from going to the hospital.
Okay, and then admission rates, like when we say this year so far, 30% of youth have been admitted, that doesn't sound like only 30% of youth that have,
That's 30% of the individuals that were apprehended and taken to the hospital were admitted at the hospital.
so it's not that they declined admission or, when I saw that, I thought maybe that was, so they've been offered admission, they've been offered help at the hospital, and they've been admitted, so why would it only be 30%?
It means that they've been apprehended, taken to the hospital, and the hospital determines whether or not they're going to be admitted.
So 70% of the potential youth that were taken to hospital.
Keep it in mind, we've only had 5 referrals,
Sure,
right?
but some of those were determined to not be
Right,
admitted.
for whatever reason.
For whatever reason, okay.
That's right, yeah.
That's, okay, that context helps, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so I know we're gonna have some good discussion here, and I see Councillor Pierce has his hand up, so we'll start off with Councillor Pierce online.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, my apologies for not being there in person today. Thank you for that presentation. A couple of quick questions I have. And Acting Inspector McTaggart will let you know that I ask this question all the time when it comes to referrals versus accepted. Okay, so I'll preface it by the fact of, you went through a number of services that are available to people, and I'm so very happy that we do have these services available. And my question is, when we talk about the referrals to accepted, is there like, obviously, you have to ask the question. You can't demand that these individuals take the help that we're offering. But if you talk to me and you say, this is what I have to offer, and I say, no, I'm fine. Is it do you circle back with me after like a day or after a certain amount of time to say, hey, you know what? Are you still okay? The service is still available. Would you like to have it now? That's kind of my first question, is what is the process to those that choose not to accept the services on the first ask? And the second question I have along the lines of that, it's always challenging when services are offered and not accepted. Is there anything that you folks do within your own teams or with these other services that are available to say, maybe we can tweak this, or maybe we can tweak that to nudge more people, or to, I don't want to say persuade, but to persuade more people to accept the services that are available?
Do you want to, Joe?
Yeah, I think during the interaction, like, we do what we can to motivate them to accept the services. We have been trained in different therapeutic modalities like motivational interviewing, so we'd use some of those techniques on the spot in those manners to offer those services and talk about what the challenges have been for them. So part of our role in that capacity is to get them to, again, talk about what those goals are, what the challenges have been, and then talking about the services to say, hey, this might be able to offer some support in that area. Obviously, we'd offer COAST, so that way maybe if we could just get them connected to our crisis outreach team, then we can have them, because it'll be up to 3 sessions. Sometimes it takes them up to those 3 appointments to really get to see the changes that could be made and the steps they could be taking and connecting to those services. We offer the crisis line as well, so really encouraging them to reach back out to us, making sure they know how to get in contact with us if they are absolutely do not want any of those offered services on that spot. So I think it's a part of just like the way that we interact with those individuals as well, and just being able to build that rapport and be able to help them to connect with those services, right? And just building that trusting relationship as best we can.
Okay, I appreciate that answer. A follow-up, if I could, Madam Chair. So that being said, so hypothetically here, so somebody is offered help, they take the help, they go through, and obviously the services that are offered here are just that, to help people. So I've gone through your service. It's really helped me. It's put me back into a positive mind, a positive state of affairs. Maybe it helped me, get my job back or whatever. Do those that have gone through and used the services, did they ever offer to say, and I understand there's privacy with all this as well, but do they ever come back to say, hey, you know what, this service really helped me and I want to help others? So would you, how can I phrase this? Is anybody that has gone through and used the services ever, I don't want to say used, but ever used in potential conversations or potential, hey, you know what, we've got somebody that's gone through this, they'd like to speak to you about what they're how they navigated through things? Or is it just strictly on the professional end that help those that are referred?
I'll add, we do have, not within our crisis service, but within many of our other services, peer support specialists. So those are individuals with lived experience. I think that's what you're getting at. So
Yes.
someone who's been through the service,
Yep.
and are in recovery, whatever that looks like for them.
Right.
We do have staff in various programs in our organization that are peer support specialists. Not within crisis per se, because it is short term, but
Right.
if Coast were to refer to the concurrent disorders program, so counseling, we have a peer support specialist that individual could connect to, that's going to help support them navigating this addictions and mental health system, supporting them in appointments,
Right.
really coming at it from a lived experience perspective, which I think you're getting at versus
yeah.
a professional therapeutic approach. So it is very important to us to embed that in our services. So there is that access. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic, because it's one of those that maybe somebody is more comfortable speaking to somebody who has been through it rather than
Definitely.
a professional. So that's great that you have that. And one final one, Madam Chair, if I could, when you said that with the where did I write this down here, for the immediate telephone crisis counseling, you said it was 724-365. Now, is that just to speak to somebody over the phone, or is that to potentially initiate and proceed with face-to-face physical meetings, or is it just strictly phone?
It's a crisis line, so it is by phone, providing immediate support in that moment. And they're also going to make connections to other services within SOAR or externally. So they may say, you know what, I think you could benefit from Coast. Would you be interested in that service? Yes, okay, I'll put the referral in for you, and someone will be in contact with you in 48 hours. So it's a nice option to have for people, because what you're saying, in the immediate support's great, and then what? We may say, come into our walk-in clinic. We may give resources in the community that might be helpful or supportive. So really trying to give people options and choices. The system can be complicated. It can be confusing. So we're trying to sort of remove some of those barriers. And I'll add, with Coast, it's really removing the, come to the office piece. It's an outreach team. We're meeting where they feel most comfortable, maybe in their home, in the community. And I think that helps in terms of building rapport, connection, and just sort of making it easy for them to access the support that they offer.
Okay, thank you for that, and thank you very much for what you guys do.
Welcome.
Mayor Bailey, you had a question?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the delegation. First of all, I've toured your facilities many times, and I've seen what you do. I've measured the state of the people. I'm going to call them frequent flyers, only because you know who they are, you recognize them. They're at different stages of their journey. And I think it's very cool and very kind of you to let them have a place where they can unwind, where they can have a shower, where they can wash their clothes, and they can start another day fresh and less frustrated when they come in. And as I said, I've been there when these people come in. I see the state of them, where their knapsacks are falling apart and they've lost things and they're distressed. And you people defer a lot of problems that would have come would come to police if you didn't give them that space to treat them kindly and help them so that they don't get so frustrated that they lash out. So I've known your agency before it was this agency, when it was something else. I've always been involved, and I think what you do to keep people away from police services or the police themselves, by knowing your clients and offering them all of these things that people don't know that you do for them. You give them a place to be quiet and regroup. And you don't need a degree to sit and talk to people to make them feel good. You just know who they are. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think what you're doing is a wonderful service for the city and the county. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Acting Inspector McTaggart?
Madam Chair, I wanted to share something with the board that came to my attention last week. And for those of you that listen to national radio, especially CBC, there's a CBC Listen radio broadcast called Ontario Today with Amanda Pfeiffer. And last week, there was a broadcast that spoke about how the CSPA is requiring police to undergo crisis training as a requirement. And the broadcast centered around people who had lived experiences, and it's just something that the police should know about what you have experienced. There was an individual from Brant County that called in on that national radio broadcast and explained their experiences with Brant County O.P.P. as well as with SOAR and the challenges they were having of a family member in their family, and the ongoing support they not only got from us, but through SOAR as well. So again, it ended with a very positive note that their individual was able to get those services that they so desperately needed through the numerous interactions that they had. But it speaks to the relationship that I believe the O.P.P. and SOAR have, and the quality people that we're producing day in and day out to these calls to service in the community with people in crisis scenarios. So I just wanted to highlight that and showcase to the board and through SOAR as well that there was an individual who took the time out of their day to go down that journey, explain on national radio the experiences they had and the end result, the help that they ended up getting for that. So thank you.
That's great. I'm gonna have to see if we can search that down and see if you can, in the world of technology and internet, we should be able to find that link somewhere. But that's a really great story of how you both as a team have been able to help people in need, and that's great. I have a couple of questions, looking around the room, making sure that, so you talked about how the insert team is available, I think you said 9 to 5, 2 to 10, depending on the shift, whatever. Is there any, and this might be for both of you, but is there any statistics that would warrant that, like a 9 to 4 in the morning, like no one wants to work those crazy shifts, but I know your team does. I can only imagine that this is a 24-hour-a-day problem. This isn't, unfortunately, a daytime situation. So is there any, is it a funding thing? Is it a human resource situation? Is it not, are the calls not warranted to maybe have a shift overnight as well? I'm just curious as to why that would be my first question. I don't know who best to direct it to.
Probably a tag team answer. I think historically, when MCURT came about, there was probably some data that was looked at that time to determine sort of what would be the best use of the MCURT team or having a mental health specialist. And I think that's why we didn't go into the early morning hours. I think those calls tended to be at that time maybe not the most useful time for us to have a team. And I think we're always looking at data. I know when we have our quarterly meetings collaboratively with the O.P.P, we're reviewing that when our calls coming in, are we missing calls? But it does come down to funding. I mean, we only have the funding for the one position. And then it also comes down, I'm sure, to police resources as well. I'm not sure. Inspector McTaggart might have more opinion on that piece. But right now we're funded for the one position.
Madam Chair, so we have altered our schedule with Emily, our MCERT worker. So she works a combination of a day and afternoon shift. So she is there for the late evening, early evening, late area. I think it's 10 o'clock PM
Yeah.
is the latest she works. And our analytics are showing that traditionally our calls to service in a individual crisis scenario slow down, I guess, around 10 PM, or if you want to call it that. The need does reduce. We do get those one-off scenarios in the middle of the night, but through those constant review of our data, that is an ongoing discussion with SOARs, whether there's an opportunity, whether we can have something 24/7, or whether we keep expanding and evolving on those roles. So that is a discussion that we have regularly.
That's good to know, especially as the county continues to grow in size and in need. I saw this morning that City of Brantford and Six Nations Police just received funding for additional support workers. So it's something that we should maybe keep on the radar, because we want to make sure these important services are available for people, like as we've all talked about. Yeah, so then my next question, that's great, thank you very much. I love the analytics and how that ties into things, and I knew that you too would have that information. So I'm not sure if someone talked about this already, but the repeat, do we track recidivism in terms of people are getting their help initially, and then for whatever reason need help again? Do you tend to see same clients, or is it always somebody different? I'm just curious to know if it's, and then maybe tied to that, I think you said there's 3 sessions that they get with Coast. So what happens after 3 sessions? Because my understanding of the whole mental health space is there's not enough capacity for counselors and services and therapists and everything else that goes along with that. What happens after that 3-session thing? Do most people find a spot to keep the continuity going, or do they fall through a crack? Do they, I'm just, so I know those are kind of a two-pronged question, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I know there can be some challenges with the system and getting individuals connected to, let's say, mental health counseling. We kind of, at the time, like if they're done the 3 sessions and we have talked to them and they still feel that they're in that crisis space and they're not strong enough sort of to end at that point, we would discuss then to say, would it be beneficial to have one more appointment, and maybe we identify if there's any other areas here, any other supports in the city that we can connect them with. We do a lot of connecting with those agencies as well with consent to say, what are your wait lists looking like? Just to identify if there is going to be a big long wait if there's that gap there. And then we try and shorten that gap as best we can until they are connected with someone that they feel supported. We also identify, are there any natural supports in their life as well, like family or friends that we can, in those safety plans, we identify that as well to say, who can you go to if you're feeling this way? For that support. So it's not always about the connections to the agencies. Sometimes it can be about identifying those natural supports in their life as well.
And then the repeat, do you tend to see a lot of the same folks that are looking for those help come back to you at different times, or?
We do. Those can be in very complex cases, though. These are individuals that are experiencing some pretty complex mental health concerns, and so we do see those repeat clients come back. Again, we try and reconnect. We kind of reevaluate again those supports that we've offered. Have they connected with them? Are they still connected to those supports? Because sometimes we'll see people come back to our program and they're no longer connecting with those supports anymore. So that's where we would, again, obtain that consent. We would reconnect with those agencies, see if that was even helpful to them. Because there are times that we offer referrals and they don't feel that it was sufficient or it wasn't something that they needed. So again, we explore, what is going to help you feel supported going forward. Maybe we identify something different here. So yeah, I think it's just about kind of identifying what is the concern with them coming back. Is it something different? Is it sort of we're seeing the same pattern with this individual? A lot of individuals as well, will make safety plans with pretty in-depth safety plans, and they will have those suicidal thoughts and attempt suicide still, right? So again, maybe we need to look at that safety plan. Maybe we need to see what wasn't helpful on that safety plan for you. We're always trying to find different ways to support that individual.
And I'll just add, internally we have a complex case table that we bring individuals who are experiencing multiple issues and could benefit from more than one service within our organization, and maybe you're having some challenges connecting. So there's also that where we can bring a person forward within our organization and bring people from all those programs together. Obviously, the client is aware of this, and we're sort of problem solving what we can do and making it easier for them, removing some barriers. So, and those tend to be individuals that are really struggling, maybe not always following through, maybe back and forth. And we also know, like, just in general, change, happens at a different pace for people, right? One moment you want to change and the next minute you don't. So we're always, come back. It's not like you don't follow through, you can't come back again. We know people are going to change at their own pace, and we want to, fifth time might be the moment that they follow through on their plan. And so it's important that we, treat each person individual and accept them when they present as wanting to move forward on something, whatever that is for them.
Member Boudreau?
Through you, Madam Chair. I'm curious in understanding the funding that you receive, where it actually comes from. And as a tangent to that, if you were to suddenly, doesn't happen, I know, but get more funding, of the 4 areas that you concentrate on, is there one area in particular you would prioritize for additional funding? Thank you.
The majority of our funding is from the Ministry of Health. And if I had a pot of money, we're offering mental health counseling. I think it was up to 10 sessions, and that funding was time limited and didn't get renewed. We did apply for more. That would be what I would spend the money on. There's not an abundance of free mental health counseling in our communities. If you have EAP or have the funds to pay for it, then you have that luxury. But others don't. There's nothing in between. If you have substance use, we have, the concurrent program, which is substance use and mental health. But if you're but if you're experiencing mental health, it's limited. So I'd say I'd spend it on that. And probably, look to, again, we're data driven. So I'd look to sort of like, what is the data telling us? Where are the needs? Do we need to expand MCURT O.P.P? Is it adding more coast? There's lots of things that we would do. But mental health counseling is, you stabilize, and then what? If then what isn't there, it makes it really hard. And I think that's when we see people cycle through crisis, right? Because they don't have that support ongoing. I will say for youth, we do have the youth mental health counseling to bridge a gap, which is helpful for you. So if they're on a wait list for, say, Woodview, then we can provide some support, or maybe the support that we can offer them in the youth counseling will be enough that they don't need the long term. But for adults, it's really hard. Yeah.
Member Stryker?
So I'm just wondering, you spoke to data analysis. Do you see any trends over like 5 to 10 years, changes into like the demographics of who you are seeing as your clients?
We haven't delved into that, but I do think a lot about older adults. But again, I think we need to explore the data further on that. And trends, I think, I'm just speaking anecdotally, but it's complex, as Chantel had mentioned. People have multiple, sometimes challenges, whether that's COVID related or not, or something else. The need seems to be there. But in terms of trends, I don't know if you're...
I don't know, in my opinion, I feel like we've been seeing a lot more youth, for sure, coming through over the past few years or so. A lot more now than we did before, and again, not really sure what's leading to that. I think, the youth in our community are definitely needing a lot more support now with the online bullying, with the social media, all of that as well. So in terms of like referrals to the COAST program, like we have seen a lot of those trends in regard to the online, the platforms and things like that, and how that can affect individuals. So in terms of that, I think that's definitely been a trend lately.
Go ahead, Member Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the delegation, thank you for what you're doing. It definitely does make a difference. You just related to some funding that you used to receive. Is there a chance of still, or have you applied again? Is it something that you might be able to reobtain in the future?
It's definitely something on our radar. There's lots of, not lots, but there's sometimes different funding streams, and it depends on sort of what their target population is for funding. But we're always looking at what's available, and if an opportunity arises, then we would definitely be putting that application in.
Is it a large amount of money that they failed to renew for you?
I don't know the dollars and cents of it. We had one dedicated full-time position that was doing it previously. So one person.
Okay. And if you were to get that funding back, do you still have access to those resources then?
Yeah, yes, if we had money to provide the service, then we definitely could just pick up where we last left off, yeah. Yeah.
The cycle of applying for funding and waiting for funding and then getting the funding is never ending. And
Sometimes it's time limited, right?
Yes.
It'll be 2 or 3 years. And we do our best to look for ways to sustain programs because we don't want to start and then stop. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out in our favor, but it's definitely something on our radar and that I'm advocating for, and I think our organization would want to do. But we're a nonprofit organization, so the funds are limited, so, yeah.
as you can tell, our board is very keen to learn and understand the challenges that our community service agencies are working with. And also we're very mindful of the mental health and the impact in the community and the calls for service that Inspector McTaggart's team gets as a result. And obviously we don't want to see an increase in those calls for services. We want people to get help through agencies like yours. And we've talked to some other groups as well, and they are facing similar challenges as you with funding, and you'd like to do more, but you only have so much that you can do. But the other thing I think that's top of mind for me is the community safety well-being plan and how much of a mental health is important in that community safety well-being plan, whether that's youth, adults, seniors, whatever. And I think you're right. We're seeing changes in the types of things. And of concern to me, I guess, is just how do people, before they even get to these horribly crisis situations, one of the things I hear in the community from people is, I don't know how to access mental health care on a proactive basis, let alone on a crisis basis. So I think that's one of the things that the community safety wellbeing plans also flagged is try to promote the proactive piece as well. But it's about services and about people being available, and even if you have benefits and you can't access folks, right? So, but again, Julie and Christine, sorry, I got your name wrong probably already, Chantel and Julie, thank you so much. Very insightful presentation, and I think we have a better understanding of some of the work that you do in collaboration with the County of Brant O.P.P team and keeping people safe and well. We really do appreciate the work that you do. It's very much needed.
Thank you. Thank you for all the questions.
Have a great rest of the day. If there's no further discussion on any of these topics on the presentation from Julie and Chantel, I would entertain a motion to receive the presentation for information. Thank you, Councillor Pierce. Seconded by Member Brown. All those in favor? And that's carried. We will go to 5.1 in our agenda, which is the adoption of the minutes from our previous meeting on September 23rd. Any errors or omissions that need to be noted before we move into that approval? Nope, okay. So then we'll do a motion then for approval of those minutes. Mayor Bailey, thank you. Member Boudreau, seconded. All those in favor? And that's carried as well. Any business arising from the minutes? Anybody would like to address? Seeing none. That takes us into our item 7 and the O.P.P. Detachment Commander's reports. I'll turn that over to Acting Inspector McTaggart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll start the report off with the motor vehicle collisions by type. For the month of September, we had no fatal injury collisions, 15 non-fatal personal injury, and 43 property damage. Moving ahead to the criminal code and provincial statute charges laid. For the month of September, we had 53 criminal code non-traffic, 15 criminal code traffic, 245 highway traffic act charges, 2 liquor license act charges, and 24 under the other category. Of those traffic charges, 126 were speeding, 3 seatbelts, 9 impaireds, and 3 classified as distracted driving. Under violent crime for the month of September, so we had 1 offense resulting in deprivation of freedom, 1 in the robbery category, 4 in the other offenses, other violence or threat of violence, for a total of 13. Property crime, break and enters, we had 10, theft over 5,000, 7, theft under 5,000, 13, possession, trafficking, stolen goods, 2, 12 frauds, and 11 mischiefs. So as you can see, our property crime is on the rise, and we are very mindful of that, as well as taking proactive approaches to try to reduce that. Drug crime, I know I spoke on this in our last meeting. I still haven't got results as to why we're seeing zeros across there, even though I know for a fact we are laying charges, so I'm still working on that one. So be mindful of the board that please be patient with me on this, that the information isn't always fully freezing down to me to make that report back to you, so continue to stand by on that one. Under we had public complaints. We did have 1 under conduct for the month of September, and 8 overall for the year-to-date. Under the DAR activity reporting patrol hours, we had 1,088 patrol hours for the month of September, and 109 for patrol hours, and 9 and a quarter school patrol. Acting Staff Sergeant Cooney's isn't here, because I know last meeting we talked about ATV patrol hours, so I know he was in charge of scheduling for that, so unfortunately I don't have an update. Hopefully our future reports will reflect some ATV patrols in there as well. Youth charges, once again, the month of September we did not have any youth charges, although we did have some youth engagement, which I'll refer to later. Mental Health Act occurrences, we had 18 for the month of September, and 247 year-to-date. Of those 18 occurrences, 1 was an ambulance assist, 5 fell under the attempt threat of suicide, 1 was involved in impaired over 80, 10 were classified as actually traditional mental health, and 1 of them fell under the mischief category. We had no overdose occurrences for the month of September. In regards to referrals to victim services, we had 49 referrals offered, 7 of which were accepted. And that is the actual report. I'll go into some further communication here. So referring to the local updates that the board has requested to put some clarification, some further activities that we're doing that's not captured in the report. As you can see with our community mobilization officer, which actually is going to be referred to as a mental health liaison in the new year. Of those 18 mental health calls, Emily, our MCERT worker, attended to 6 crisis calls, and there were 19 new coast referrals for follow-up. There were 6 apprehensions, and 4 were admitted, and 2 were released. And that speaks to some of the stats Julie had mentioned too about youth and how percentage of those individuals weren't always admitted. Total time in the emergency room was 10 hours and 39 minutes times 2. Mean time was 1 hour 46, and the time in the emergency room ranged from 22 minutes to 3 hours and 45 minutes. Moving down to our school resource officer, Constable Vitalis. He was involved in 53 youth-related occurrences. 44 ranged between criminal code, provincial offenses, domestic and family disputes, mental health, and police assist. Again, no criminal code charges, but there were 2 warnings. He engaged with youth in regarding 4 HTA Provincial Offense Act charges, 16 Highway Traffic Act warnings, and he did have a report of an online element, which Julie and her team did talk about as well, with some of the bullying they're seeing online. Regarding our traffic management unit, I know Councillor Pierce, you had mentioned this in the past, and the report does not reflect this, although I do have an update that the further reports moving forward will have actually those traffic management unit numbers broken down by month. I can tell you for certain in 2025, we are at a total of 1,666 charges laid by our traffic management units. So next month, you will receive the update that will reflect month by month the offenses that were laid by our traffic management unit. Some of the special events, the first one is September 10th, and I have to, there's a spelling error on Sojourn Church. Thank you to Member Straker for bringing that to my attention. So it's not Sojum, it's Sojourn Church here in Paris regarding a seniors drop-in center opening. We attended the Brant County Chambers building for suicide flag raising. We had attendance at the First Responders Charity Golf Tournament at the Wayne Gretzky Center. There's a fraud lecture to the Scotland Optimist Club, another fraud lecture to Tri-County Retiree Group. Of course, we had our Community Safety Night at the Sportsplex, Applefest. We had a tent there as well, and then a 4-H Youth Club hosted by the county as well in the end of September. Regarding staffing, Pam Novak joins our traffic management unit as of September, and she'll continue through until the end of the year. And we welcomed Corey Clarisy from the RCMP, who replaced Constable Rowan Hamlet, who was participating in a 1-year Northern Deployment opportunity. Like I said, Corey has previous connection to Brant County. He did serve with Brantford Police prior to joining the RCMP, and he's come full circle, and he's enjoying himself here at the county. And I want to draw attention to the board regarding the Detachment Action Plan that I'm responsible for from 2026 to 29. I'm currently in the process of drafting that plan to meet the requirements of the Community Safety and Policing Act. That involves consultations with the prescribed persons, organizations, and groups that the Act has required me to do. So that is that part. Crime Stoppers, I do believe we had just 23 tips for us here at the O.P.P, 43 with Brantford Police for 6 Nations, and we had 19 news releases last month. PC Coletta is our new media officer, and he actually did anyone saw it, a video on farm safety that he got some overwhelmingly positive experiences on. He's a bit of a character in himself, and he brings a lot of a different perspective than PC Bierker to that role. So I'm very, very glad he's in it, and I look forward to some future videos with him in it. So he tends to ham it up a little bit. So that's my report for September, if there's pending any other questions.
Thank you very much. Good report. I'm sure I have full confidence in my fellow board members that we'll have lots of good discussion and questions to come. So anybody want to go before Councillor Pierce? Or shall we keep with tradition and let Councillor Pierce go first? Okay, there we go. Councillor Pierce, you have the floor with your questions, comments.
Well, thanks, Madam Chair. Maybe I just put up my hand as a decoy and I really don't have a question, but I do. You know better than that. Okay, yeah, thanks for that, Inspector. A couple things. First of all, yeah, I was gonna talk about the with the drug crime still zero. You're working on that. That's no problem. Thank you for the updates for the ATVs, because I think that's still an issue with folks, riding their ATVs where they should not be. So I'll leave that to you as well. One thing I did notice, and again, it's all back to to referrals and accepted. It appears that even though the number offered for September was, you know, a little bit lower than previous Septembers, but the accepted was very low, and I'm just curious. Is there anything we can do? I know I'm not sure if the ladies are still there that had the presentation earlier, if they're in there and they can hear this, but is there anything more we can do to try and get that accept rate up higher than it is? I'm not sure if they're still in the room or not. I can't see that. Um, and again, with the referrals to the accepted, I know you were going to look into this. I'm not sure if we're able to do it or not. But again, I would like to see. I like having the percentages. But again, if we look at September, for example, with the the referrals from the 11 to 16 age group, 100%. So like was there one and it was accepted, or was there 20 and they were all accepted? If there's any way to get numbers in there, that would I would appreciate that.
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Pierce. As you know, when it comes to acceptance, there's a lot of variables in there, and you've kind of touched on there with people that maybe already have those social supports in place. So it's hard for us to, I think, speak to that. Victim Services was here and did a presentation on that, and they kind of alluded to that as well, is that they offer their services to as many people that were willing to listen and accept. But at the end of the day, if someone chooses not to, then we can't force their hand on that. So,
Right.
But to your point as well, I feel like that there is a way to further those conversations with those individuals that have been offered services. By all means, our members will continue to do that. I just know that when it comes to follow-up down the road, that is somewhat challenging because there's always new cases that present themselves. So to circle back on something can be somewhat difficult to manage that as well. So that's more of a victim services approach on there.
Right. I appreciate that. Just a quick follow-up, if I could, and I appreciate that answer. I'm just curious: are there ever conversations like I'll go between detachments or municipalities covered by O.P.P. as to like obviously we're not the only ones that have these services. So I'm curious. Does it seem to be we're right in line with other municipalities in the sense of A, the services that are offered, and B, the number of referrals that are accepted? Do we know, like, are we at par? Or because again, I'm just looking for, and don't get me wrong, I know people are doing everything they can to to offer and have people use the helps we have out there. But I'm just curious, has there ever been conversations at the higher level of O.P.P. at the detachment level to say, hey, you know what, we're having this issue and we're having this issue. I wonder if there's a different way. I'm just curious. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I'm just looking for anything we can do either by ourselves or involving other municipalities that have the same services to try and get that number up.
So, Councillor Pierce, I do have regular meetings with my peers in our syndicate, which I've told you is the 4 detachments of Oxford, Norfolk, us, and Haldeman.
Yep.
The other detachment commanders have not brought this issue up in our conversations. Now, you saying that, I can definitely at our next meeting suggest to them if they have are seeing a similar situation as we are, and whether there's any ideas that have come forth that we haven't thought of. So I'll definitely make note of that to bring up as well. But again, that hasn't been a topic of conversation that I've been aware of, but doesn't mean that can't raise it.
Right. No, I appreciate that. And maybe there's something that we're doing that can benefit others, and maybe there's something others are doing that can benefit us, right? So I appreciate if that conversation could be at least broached, and we'll see where it goes. But thank you very much.
Inspector McTaggart, I guess on the note of what Councillor Pierce was talking about when there were, and perhaps what SOAR was talking about, we've noted here that there was 18 mental health calls in September, and MCERT responded to six crisis calls. So 12 of those calls would just be, if I'm doing that right, 12 of them would just be your team responding, no support staff with you. So is that a normal ratio? Like a third of the calls are with SOAR's team? And I'm not trying to be, I'm trying to make sure that, I'm trying to understand where where additional supports could help. If there's 12 calls there that you're dealing with on your own without those additional mental health supports, or is there something I'm missing in reading just the numbers?
Madam Chair, I'll just draw your attention back to the mental health occurrence by occurrence type. When you break down the actual 18 calls, you can see where some of them are ambulance assist, threat of suicide, impaired, mischief. So those occurrences wouldn't necessarily garner an MCERT attendance on those incidents. So that might account for those 12 that you're referring to, where MCART was not part of our calls for service because it initially didn't come across as that. That answer your question at all?
Right, so it's just understanding. So they might not have come in as a mental health call, crisis call per se, but we've captured them as a mental health occurrence, whether it's impaired over 80, mischief, what were the other ones that you had in there? Well, Mental Health Act is like that, 10 is the largest one, right? So I'm just trying to understand when you call someone, when you call in an MCERT, MCART, whatever the acronym is, when you call them in versus when they're not available because they're maybe not on shift, and when you have to go solo.
So they come to all of our, when they're working, they come to all of our crisis calls. That goes without saying. Some of these crisis calls that have been classified under other occurrences may not have initially presented themselves as such, but through investigation, officers identify this as a crisis matter. And that's likely where you're seeing these COAST referrals.
Okay.
Is that members are identifying as this individual's in crisis. Addictions definitely is a key factor in an individual in a crisis. We've seen that correlation in the past. So that might explain a little bit of it. I know for sure discussions are always ongoing with SOAR to improve service to the residents here in Brant and changing Emily's hours to reflect that, which we did do this year, alter her hours to later. So again, we are always reviewing that data to see if there's efficiencies that we can make to include her in more calls.
But you only have one person.
Correct.
And 1 week they're working one shift, 1 week they're working another shift. So there's times of the day, conceivably, where you don't have that support available because of that gap, right?
Correct. And I know SOAR has their challenges within with staffing and keeping up with demand as well, mindful of the challenges they have with funding. So that is a conversation we have as well as capacity to support a second worker.
Right. That'll be interesting to see how that comes together because your calls aren't getting like lower, right? They're increasing, and yeah, if we can bridge a gap in terms of that service provision, and I know it comes down to funding, and I know City of Brantford would probably be pretty busy too in how they allocate services and whatnot. So I guess I'm just supporting that idea of looking down the road, as we think about the future and what we need for services and support for the community. And I guess, going back to Councillor Pierce's questions about people accepting, the referrals and whatnot, and I guess I'm curious to know whether, my understanding is most of the services are being provided in downtown Brantford. Is that a barrier for people accepting services, that there's nothing available, whether it's in Paris or anywhere else in the county? That's a hike to get to downtown Paris for some people, and another barrier maybe to thinking about, getting help if there was something locally. Like, is that something that might be a challenge for some of the folks that are looking for support?
I would agree 100% with your comments, Madam Chair. Providing those services to those people in crisis, especially when transportation is a challenge, is a barrier in itself. And we are seeing those individuals all over the county in the isolated areas or the extended areas away from the major populated areas such as Paris that, we have these outreach centers that the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, as you well know, is trying to bridge those gaps and get those service providers into those office spaces as we possibly can. But that is an ongoing challenge that we're going to continue to see here until we can do better. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, those individuals we are dealing with are going to have those challenges. We're mindful of that. And we're trying to do what we can to service and work with our provider on that. But yeah, that will continue to be a barrier here in Brant for sure.
Member Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the inspector. If you're going to be making minor alterations to the traffic management report, I'm wondering if you can also give us, for example, here, September 2024, so that we can see a trend year over year as opposed to the last 5 years and then just this year. So we've got similar things to look at. And the other thing that I'd like to ask, I guess it's an observation, but I'd like your input on it. In 2025, we've had over 1,600 contacts between officers and people being issued tickets. And it's kind of surprising to me that there would be no Part 3 charges or no criminal charges that would result from that. And it's an observation. I don't know if it's something that's fair to ask you to comment on, but it's something that I would look at as a concern.
Through the chair, Member Brown, that's exactly my sentiments as well. I've been looking at these stats, trying to understand myself why there's only one category under the Part 1s, which is typically is just a provincial offense notice issued on scene. No further follow-up on that. So I'm looking into that further because the new member that I mentioned, Constable Novak, has a passion for impaired drivers. She's very aggressive and very proactive when it comes to that. So I'm hoping that we'll see some criminal charges come out of her in her work. Constable Hall is more on the commercial motor vehicle side of the enforcement side. So he's focused on trucks, which, as the board's probably aware, is commercial motor vehicles are a big proponent in our collisions, and the impact they have is usually very serious in nature. So we're trying to combat both those scenarios as well. So absolutely, it has not lost on me, Member Brown. Thank you.
So to follow up on that then, the traffic management unit now is back, like we have 2 people in place now in September with that focus.
That's correct.
Member Boudreau. Oh, sorry, and Councillor Pierce, you're next online. I'm sorry about that. I'll get you after Member Boudreau.
No worries. If I could, Madam Chair, just a comment to the last conversation between yourself and Acting Inspector Matagi there. You know, he had said some things, and he said, you know, until we do better. I just want to state for the record that I feel you guys are doing a fantastic job. So I don't think it's a fact of doing better per se. I think you guys are all doing everything you can, and I just wanted to just make that statement is all. It's not a fact of doing better because I feel you're doing a fantastic job.
Well said, Councillor Pierce. Thank you. Member Boudreau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the inspector. I don't know that there's a question buried in this thought process, but I'll try and get there as quick as I can. And it's related to, in part, what Member Brown was talking about around trends as well. As I know, when I've been talking with community members over the last year as part of the member of this board, the most common thing I hear, which always surprises me, is that crime is out of control. The county is going to heck in the handbasket and other sort of broad-based statements. And I always come back to the data and say, well, have you actually looked at the data? And some have been online and participated in these meetings by viewing them. I haven't actually come across any community member yet that actually went to our site, downloaded the report, and actually looked at the data itself. Because if they did, they begin to see part of what we see. And I think there's a way we might be able to help the community as part of that. Because when you go through and read the stats of 43 of this or 9 of that, et cetera, that is a number to any community member not seeing it in context. It's 55 for a year to date on the break-in enters, as a for instance. They look at that and it just stands out as 55. Oh my gosh, that's an incredible number. Relatively speaking, it's certainly on an upward trend, which is not great, but as compared to violent crime, as a for instance, in the community, violent crime is down across all categories. So what I would encourage us to potentially do in some of these areas as we report it out for recording into the community is to include it with the percentages, where we can actually highlight any number is a bad number in the sense of whatever the violent crime might be, or break-in enters, et cetera. But if the numbers are going down, I think it's important that we share that as an overall statistic. And likewise, if they're going up, then we need to address that trend as well. That leads to the second thing, because I've had a sort of a flurry of conversations come my way after we did the open house to in fact address a number of the things that were in this report. The only disappointing comment I've heard come back my way is, where was the discussion around break-in enters? People love the discussion about theft prevention for the vehicles, and a number of people walked away either with a Faraday pouch or with some other idea on how they can help themselves prevent theft in the future. And certainly was eye-opening with the drug conversation, because most of us not in that world, everything is unusual. So that was certainly educational as well. But I did get comments back that they felt, based upon what they read in the flyer that went out, that there'd also be a discussion around the break-in enters, because of course that also made the local paper as a discussion item as well, the fact that it's on the increase. So I would encourage us to entertain the concept of doing another open house in the coming months, specifically focused on break-in enter, and specifically focused in on prevention. How do we actually help the community members go to bed a little safer minded, knowing that they've taken some action that can be shared with them, just as we did on the vehicle theft side of things. And that gets me to the final one, which is the detachment action plan. Because when I look at these trends, what I'm anticipating, and this is more of just a gut check for me to know what's coming in the action plan, what I'd be anticipating to a certain extent is the action plan is taking a look at areas where we seem to be seeing both either good trends or troubling trends, and then addressing those trends. So I'm just trying to even expectations set for myself and perhaps the community around what we can expect in the detachment action plan once it comes forward. Okay, thank you.
A lot to unpack there, so we'll leave it there with Acting Inspector McTaggart.
Through the chair, thank you, Member Boudreau. And referencing your question there in regards to the community safety night, and I think there might have been a little bit lost interpretation, and maybe there's an opportunity for us to do better on safeguard. Because safeguard was presented by our auxiliary member about protecting your home and making it less desirable for individuals, whether that's through you're stealing your car or a vehicle, as well as entering your home. So I think that might have been a trend we tried to capture in the safeguard regarding the break-enters, but if that area was not captured, then I believe that there's an opportunity to improve on that. So leave that with me. I know our community street crime unit is very much engaged in property crime. Property crime and drug is essentially what they do. So we do have an open occurrence right now that we are tracking all of our thefts and break-in-enters through to try to identify trending locations where we need to focus our attention on, whatnot. And typically what you'll see, and I'm going to share this for next month's meeting, there is some progress we're making. So it just takes time. It's usually a group of individuals that are doing these acts, and they commit a lot of them before they finally get caught. So I'm anticipating I'll have some good news next month, but please bear with us on that one. So did I cover off your question?
The detachment action plan and sort of level setting expectations from my perspective.
So the CSBA has requirements in there for me to do certain consultations with the community to understand those needs. And I can assure you that myself and Chair Helly have talked about the action plan and some of the ways we're going to achieve those results, of which I won't get too much into it, but there is a mechanism we're using to capture that community involvement where the individuals in the community have their say. So that will be the opportunity for those individuals to voice their opinion through the action plan to alert me of some of those trends and those issues that the community wants brought forward and actionable by us. So that is coming.
Thank
Maybe
you.
some context, Member Boudreau and Acting Inspector McTaggart, please correct me. In preparation, I guess, context for this action plan, we'll probably receive it early in the new year, a draft of what Acting Inspector McTaggart has prepared. It'll be, my previous experience with it is there's a lot of provincial stuff in there as well as local flavor. It won't be like specifically honed in on one tiny little thing. It'll be more broader in general in terms of the things that the detachment would want to tackle in the next few years. And our job will be to review it and make sure it aligns with what we believe to be the case as well, and what that looks like for the community. And I'm sure that'll also include some of the consultation that you're required to do in terms of some of the needs from the community as well. So we'll have an opportunity to review that, provide input, provide feedback, suggestions, what have you. And then Acting Inspector McTaggart brings it back for final approval to us. And of course, it has to get approved by O.P.P. HQ and all that process as well. Did that help provide you some context in terms of the homework ahead of us and the work that we'll, and then we can also align with that action plan, anything that we as a board feel is strategically important as well, whether that's community engagement, community safety. To your point about the Paris Community Safety Night, my personal observations was it was a heck of a lot of agenda for the time period that we had. And so perhaps parsing that down a little bit into some sizable bites, that was a lot to keep. We had a great turnout. I shouldn't say we, you had a great turnout. And that speaks to people wanting to be, understand, but that was a very meaty agenda and to cover a lot. And so by the time we got to the safeguarding and whatnot, I think people had to get home and it was getting late into the night. I'd also love to see that in other parts of the county, potentially, however that rolls out into the new year, whether we can do similar types of events, in other parts of the county as well. That would be helpful. I think that would be great. I know that your team's already talking about how that can roll out as well.
Yeah, yes. So yes, my question was addressed,
Great.
Madam Chair. And I agree, because I was there. Their turnout speaks for itself in the sense that the community is thirsty for more information around how they can help themselves and ultimately help the O.P.P. as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we all want to be proactive and do the things we need to do to prevent being victims of crime. And, we only have to look at some of the vehicle breaking into vehicles and thefts of vehicles to, the stats always show us how many cars are left unlocked, how many keys are left in the car, how many computers are left in the car, how many people's wallets. And yes, people shouldn't be doing the things that they're doing, but we don't need to tempt them either by leaving those things in the cars. So we need to continue to educate the community to be proactive, for sure. And hopefully we'll have more information next meeting on some of the work that you're doing. Anything else on Member Stryker?
Yeah, through the chair, I actually just wanted to ask a question about fraud. Fraud charges in September were up. And so I'm just wondering if there's a piece of some education on the demographic of where that would be, or if there's an opportunity also to include that in our community safety evenings.
Through the chair, Member Stryker, I don't have any specifics on those fraud matters, specifically what they are exactly. But again, alluding to a proper crime matter, I think there is definitely an opportunity to learn from that. And I know there's ongoing fraud presentations, especially to our seniors, that happens on a regular basis here in the county, that our CEOs are doing. So we're trying to get that across. Is it helpful if I'm seeing a trend in some of these numbers to quantify, put some context as to what exactly it is without going into an operational piece, especially if we're seeing numbers that are higher, for instance, thing that's 50% or higher. Is that helpful to understand what those are, to draw some context to it?
Through the chair, it would be, to me, like a kind of, yeah, definitely. Is it like multiple charges on one action, or is it a group of people being victimized? think that would be helpful.
Any other questions or comments on the detachment commander's report? Very good discussion. All right, good, all right, seeing none. We will have a motion then to receive the detachment commander's report of October 28th for information. Member Stryker put that motion forward, seconded by Member Brown. All those in favor? And that's carried. All right, we'll move into item 8, staff reports. Cindy has a item in our package with respect to the 2026 budget, and to get our brains starting to think that way, we're just introducing this today. So we'll give Cindy the floor to review it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to members of the board. So this morning, we're presenting an initial draft budget, as Chair Haley advised, and looking for direction or any additional information that the board is looking for to bring back to the November board meeting. The county budget process is looking for the board's budget estimates by December the 1st. The initial draft budget prepared by staff is $54,872 for 2026, which is a 7.4% decrease over this year's budget. And at this point in time, that is simply removing the sponsorship that the board had done this year for the Special Olympics. That was considered a one-time item. Just through some observations in looking at the draft budget, overall, the public relations and awards account is underspent so far year to date. And that is largely due to the Brant Dispatch newsletter shifting to online for the spring edition because of the challenges with Canada Post. The board will have to determine, I think, for the second edition this year, if you'd like to take that same approach. If so, that would result in some additional savings as well for 2025. Remuneration, that is included in the budget, but that, just to clarify, is set through the county budget process. So overall, it's staff's recommendation that the board looks at what your objectives and priorities will be for 2026 in looking at the budget and ensuring that the budget aligns with your priorities for next year, as well as consult with our local detachment inspector to ensure that the board's objectives and budget align with the detachment's plans and priorities.
Thanks, Cindy. So, as Cindy noted, we're not being asked to approve anything today. This is food for thought for us to consider. I would like to suggest that we would ask input from the detachment commander on priority items, community engagement. Just thinking off the top of my head, you know, we don't have the community safety groups. We've talked about some of these community engagement opportunities. We have probably some other things that might be on the wish list, so to speak. So I'd love to be able to get some feedback from Acting Inspector McTaggart as well on that. And then I know there's some things that have come up through the year, this year, where Cindy has advised that we've had to come back to the board for a couple of things. So I'd like to have an opportunity to go back and figure out how do we get those into, we've done a great job last year of getting some of those things into the budget. So how do we continuously improve and get some of those things into the budget that we've come across this past year. And then I guess the board, we as a board here, we need to consider, or is there anything that we'd like to make sure of in 26 that we, within the budget that we have, that we need to allocate specifically to something, or attend something, or be part of something, or support the detachment commander in something. So those are all food for thought at this point. And I guess I'll throw it out there, Cindy, maybe the process could be that board members could funnel their suggestions either to myself or to yourself, so we can prepare something for the November board meeting. And of course, if everybody's in agreement, we would solicit the detachment commander's feedback as well, so that we could bring a proposed budget for review and approval to meet the county's budget timelines as well, because we don't traditionally meet in December. So I'll throw that out there for discussion at this point. Would that process work in terms of feedback, or are we?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, I think it would. Certainly if there's some discussion today, staff can take that back, and anything further to that post-meeting, take that into consideration to bring back.
Okay, great. Member Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to Cindy. We discussed last month the different methods of distribution or possible ways moving forward. With you having distributed electronically and by the alternate means the last time, have we had any feedback from the community over not being able to get them, or any concerns? Has there been anything raised that we could use to compare postal to each house versus the electronic and pickup method?
Through you, Madam Chair, I have had some discussions with our communications team about, the two different options. They certainly didn't raise that there had been any feedback kind of either way about the method of distribution. So I don't believe that they've heard anything from the community on that. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any other information than that.
One thing that's been great, I just wanted to highlight and say thanks to the communication team as well, and community engagement team, whether it was the ATV discussions that we had last meeting or the dispatch newsletter. Usually after our meetings, there's been some really great social media posts from the county reminding people about the ATV stuff, the farm safety stuff, sharing of posts from the O.P.P, but also letting people know that the dispatch was available, whether it was on website or in the different county buildings. So I appreciate the collaboration with the county staff to be able to do that. Member Brown?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, if we're not getting any negative, if it's getting out there and the word's getting out there to people that we know, then that's a fairly significant budget item that we may want to give serious concern or consideration to. Is there a need to spend that much on the printing and or delivery of that product when it's being, such a great job is being done otherwise to get that out and about and nobody's suffering, so.
And reallocate it to potentially other things. So in the past, oh, sorry, Councillor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair. No, I was just going to completely agree with Member Brown there. I think through, not that we planned it out that way, but it, thanks to our Canada Post, we have found other ways to get this information out there. And in all honesty, I think it's just my own opinion, but I think it's a much better way. And the added bonus is the fact of what it saves us on postage. So I think it's definitely, something we need to continue to look at going forward. And again, I just wanted to just confirm that I agree with Member Brown in the sense that it's definitely the way to go.
Thank you, Councillor Pierce. So I know in the past, as a board, we've talked about communications, community engagement as being kind of strategic priorities. And I believe that that's probably still the case with what we're trying to do here. So with that kind of lens, and whether it's reallocated or moving some things around, for example, we're going to be talking about Remembrance Day here shortly. We don't have Remembrance Day as a line item specifically in here, so I know Cindy had made that note that, okay, well, we'll include it for 26. So try to get some of these things into the budget so that they're standing items versus having to come off at them one-off all the time. I think that's what we've been trying to do here over the past little while. So there's things in the past year that we can reflect on, whether we want to support our policing partners at various events, if that requires registration fees or what have you. If there's things that we want to be at to support our policing partners or the community at large, then we want to make sure we get those things captured. If there's things that are coming up in 26, we know that obviously Special Olympics was last year's big thing that is not happening again. So that's part of the reason for the reduction in the budget, but there might be other things. Last year we participated in the Nova Vita Women's Day event. There might be other things that we might want to do that again. There might be other similar types of events that we want to include and help support. So I guess I would just encourage everybody to think about some of those things that might be, I know in talking to Acting Inspector McTaggart, we have the Youth Academy. There's potentially that, you know, you're thinking about doing a Citizens Academy. So is there support that's needed for that as well? There was a Citizens Academy, and last one was in 2019. If that does happen, you know, what does that look like for us to support that as well? There might be other initiatives. So I'd really like to get the detachment commanders' feedback on some of the things that they're thinking of for 26 as well with your team that could use some support. I know being at both Paris Fair and the Apple Fest, the stuff that the community engagement team handed out to kids and to the fairgoers and to the festival goers, I know they didn't have enough stuff, and we get allocated so much from O.P.P. Central, but is there an opportunity to provide more, I call it swag, but it was coloring books and stickers and the positive reinforcement opportunities, the interactions that the officers have with the community and the kids. Can we support some of that work for those opportunities? These are all I'm just throwing ideas out there that you guys can think about. And I'm sure you have other ideas as well. So, Member Stryker?
I also saw on social media, there was a post about the Norfolk County O.P.P, I believe, and they had bicycles. So would that also be something that we could consider to increase like bike patrol hours on the daily patrol of things?
It's definitely been a topic of discussion around the table here before. I guess that would be something that we'd need to talk to Cindy about in terms of how that would work and talk to Acting Inspector McTaggart in terms of budget. I know I spent some time talking to Superintendent Nash as well about the evolution of bike patrols and all the different detachments. And I know Acting Inspector McTaggart's gonna also be looking into that as well. So I think it's a great idea, especially with the growing community. How does that work? How does that play out? How does that transpire? Well, those are all, I guess that's what we have to investigate further. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah, I can investigate that and bring that back as part of the report next month.
That's great. Okay, so everybody's got a little bit of homework then. We'll leave it with everybody that if you can review the budget as proposed with the notion, I think the consensus is that perhaps the postage can be reallocated to other items and save some of that. There'll be printing, but just not as much printing, but and then if there was things this past year that we did on an ad hoc approval basis that you think should be in the budget, I know Cindy would like to get that into it so we have better tracking and planning. If you can let us know of that as well. So you can either send it to myself and Cindy or however you want to do it, that would be great. I know Cindy and I will be chatting about it between now and the next meeting, so just be helpful if we have both ends of the spectrum covered there. And then we'll also solicit your feedback, Acting Inspector McTaggart, in terms of priorities for the detachment as well. And then we'll bring back that budget for review and consideration at our next meeting in November. Does that sound like a plan? Cindy, does that work okay for you?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I'm just looking at dates. And if there is any additional information or feedback after this meeting, if we could have that by November 14th, if possible.
Okay. Great. Member Stryker?
So feedback as in like sending an email to both the chair and yourself about different ideas?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, so I'm just reading the notes that Spencer's given me, and I do not believe that we have to do a motion because there's nothing that we're approving today, right? Or that we're receiving the report for information? Okay, there we go. There is a motion. So you'll see that on your agenda, that we have prepared some wording there that the staff report that was presented to us on the budget be received for information, and that the County of Brant O.P.P. Detachment Board provide direction to staff on the budget direction and additional information required so that we can inform our decision on the draft 26 budget, and that we then bring that final draft back to the November board meeting for approval so that we can submit that to County of Brant Council for their review. Member Bailey, you'll make that motion, thank you. Seconded by Member Boudreau. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, everyone. We today have nothing under our communications to deal with today, so we'll move into the updates. And Councillor Pierce, I know we're getting, oh, no, we still have some time. I'm looking at a bunch of different clocks have different times here, but you're still good for your timing. Any updates from council you'd like to share?
I am. At this point in time, there's nothing that's been brought back, so we'll leave it at that unless there's anything go the other way.
I know that we're all interested to see how the province is going to deal with the speed camera issue and how that'll impact the community.
Yes, we're waiting on that as well.
Thank you very much. In terms of Zone 4 updates, the November 19th is the next date for Zone 4. It's a virtual meeting. As of right now, there's going to be a speaker on the use of AI in policing, so that should be interesting. And what we as boards need to be mindful of. And other than that, I would also like to suggest that if any of my colleagues would like to take over Zone 4 responsibilities, I would welcome that opportunity. There's only so much people can do with their bandwidth, so if there's anybody that's interested in any of those in any of the involvement in Zone 4, please let me know. And then in terms of the chair update, as we talked about earlier, the dispatch newsletter this fall, of course, Canada Post was on strike again, but I'm hearing the direction from, unless you tell me otherwise, that we'll continue to do not mailing, but available in offices. And I know that Acting Inspector McTaggart and his team are working on content for that. We hope to have that out end of November-ish. And work with county staff on that. Acting Inspector McTaggart has a couple of busy weeks coming up here, and then once he gets through that, then we'll be able to finish off some of that stuff. And then this Thursday night, if anybody is available, there'll be, like we did for the different platoons, there'll be an appreciation night for the auxiliary team. That's part of their regular meeting, and I believe we should be available for 6:45-ish for 7, is that? There's too many things in my brain, so I'm gonna make sure you give me the right information.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for the board, this year marks the 25th anniversary for Auxiliary Unit. So in 1999, when Paris Police transitioned to the O.P.P, they had an auxiliary unit as well. And the O.P.P in Brant did not. So in 2000, actually October 20th of 2000, the newly formed auxiliary unit was established. So recognizing that our 25th anniversary is this year, I felt it was timely to not only support those members that are currently serving, to recognize all those hours and time they put into our unit to support us with all those numerous community events that were asked for on a regular basis, that we do some recognition similar to our platoon barbecues. So it'd be just an informal, they don't know about this yet. I haven't told anybody, so hopefully there's none of them watching, listening to this today, because that'll get the secret will get out. But I'm looking to surprise Auxiliary Staff Sergeant Mossman and his team on Thursday night. So their meeting is at 7 p.m. So if anyone wants to attend, that's when it'll officially start. So I'll leave that up to you as to when you're able to, if you're able to fit in your schedules.
At the detachment.
At Detachment, yes.
And I'll leave it at that for the chair's update for now. And and so that we can get into some of our other business. And we do have an in-camera item, so we'll keep trucking along here, unless there's any questions on any of the updates. Okay, so then in other business, Spencer has in our package some Remembrance Day service information, and we do have that coming up here in a couple of weeks. And as we've done in the past, we try to be part of those services. So we have St. George, Burford, and Paris that we have invitations for this year, and to be able to participate in laying a wreath, and typically we do that in partnership with our O.P.P. There's a couple with Burford. So Burford has an interdenominational Remembrance Day service on Sunday, November 2nd. That is one part at 1 p.m. And then they also have a Remembrance Day service on Remembrance Day, November 11th. So we are invited to both of those opportunities. And then, of course, Paris and St. George will be on November 11th as well. So I guess looking here to make sure that we have folks available to participate and be able to be at some of these places. Then we're going to get into a little bit on the actual wreath part of it. But for now, I'm available to go to the St. George location. Member Brown? Both or one or? The Remembrance Day? Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'd be happy to look after Paris again unless somebody else wants to.
And we can have a couple of people attend as well if needed. Mayor Bailey?
Just in case, through you, Madam Chair, just in case people don't know, the interdenominational one, it's a really big service at Burford. I'll be there, obviously laying the wreath for the mayor, but it's bigger than the one on the actual Remembrance Day. It's not a very big service at all. It's just sort of done right at the cenotaph there. But the one with all the churches, it's big, it gets a crowd. It would be a shame not to have the O.P.P. represented there.
And I believe this is the first time we've been invited to this, which is great. It's great opportunity.
Joan went with me once.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, so we have been there before, but it is where the people come, it's where the churches come, and it's the hall is full, so I would hate to see the void.
No, for sure. Is anybody available to attend on Sunday, November 2nd? Okay, great. And obviously Mayor Bailey's got duties as mayor to be at Paris here. Member Boudreau, are you looking to fill in anywhere, or are you you're good?
If you need a body, if you're looking for another, I'm certainly available on the 11th. I did St. George last year. Be happy to join you again this year in St. George.
Yeah, wherever. I mean, whoever. We can have more than one person. So if there needs to be, if you want to do Paris with Councillor Pierce, if you want to come to St. George, I was away last year, so I know that I wasn't able to attend. So however that works for you, you just let us know.
In which case I'll be the hometown boy as well and join Councillor Pierce for Paris.
Perfect. And Member Stryker, if you're in St. George that day, we can connect as well. Okay. All right, so we've got all the locations covered. Thank you, everybody. So then the next piece is, so in the past, we have replenished the wreaths. We've done Burford recently, and St. George had to be replaced as well. Spencer has ordered the wreath, and it's not currently captured in our budget. So we do need to talk about that today. So that's maybe something we can include for future years to keep adding to our budget. So the other thing that Spencer's taken care of is last year at this time, our name was still not finalized in terms of the transition from Detachment Board and Police Service Board and whatnot. So the old ribbons on the wreath said Brant County O.P.P. Detachment Board, and Spencer has ordered ribbons to be more County of Brant O.P.P. Detachment Board, which is actually our name. So he's ordered those ribbons, and the replacement wreath for St. George So we expect, between the wreath and the ribbons, approximately $170 between all that, that we need to consider today. Now, in addition, St. George, in your letter there in the package, you will have seen that they asked for a donation towards the cost of the wreath, but in talking to Spencer here, we aren't sure that that would be in play, considering we potentially will be replacing the wreath, so I don't know that we need to do both necessarily. So at this time, we're looking to get your approval, your feedback on being able to replace the one wreath and the ribbons that go on each of the wreaths in each of the locations. And they are reusable wreaths. They're not living wreaths. They're reusable wreaths for years to come. Mayor Bailey?
While we're talking about the wreaths, Madam Chair, we did already miss one in Mount Pleasant. There was no, I laid the wreath for the county. There was nobody for the O.P.P. So maybe we can list that on our list of wreaths for next year. It's the big Legion out on the highway there in Mount Pleasant.
Oh, okay.
And it's, again, big crowd, lots of kids, cadets, Sea Cadets, Army Cadets, a band, Salvation Army.
When was that one?
It was a while ago now, maybe a month ago.
Oh, okay.
They do theirs first, so
So Spencer, we will get you to track that one down for us and get it into the calendar for next year.
that would be great. Thank you.
All right. So at this time, I guess we're looking for a motion to approve the spending of approximately $175 on the new replacement wreath and the new ribbons for the various community wreaths. Councillor Pierce, thank you. Member Brown, any other discussion? All those in favor? And that's carried. All right. So then the other piece of business under 11.2, again, budget related, Cindy has advised that we need to bring this back because we don't really have a home for it today, and maybe that's something that tweaks our thoughts in terms of the budget process, in terms of how we can capture this potentially for a future line item. But as Acting Inspector McTaggart alluded, there's the 25th anniversary for the auxiliary this year in the county, and so there's two pieces here that I'd like to request. I'd like to be able to help support getting a plaque to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the auxiliary unit. There's Acting Inspector McTaggart is creating a little bit of a wall per se of for the auxiliary, and currently the Bruce Harshnett Memorial Award plaque is also in this same location. And those of you that will remember, Bruce was the auxiliary unit commander here in the county, longtime member, and passed away with a tragic accident. So we have a memorial award for him there. So the two-part is one to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the auxiliary unit with getting a plaque. And then the second would be that every year the auxiliary awards the Bruce Harshnett Memorial Award to one of its team members. And there's a small little plaque that needs to be engraved. And they pay for that themselves. They're already volunteering. They don't get anything for being a volunteer other than obviously satisfaction for the community, but they've paid for that current plaque and that any engraving that they do, and they've only awarded it once. But I'd like to bring to the board the opportunity that perhaps the board can take care of the small costs associated with that engraving of that keeper plaque that when they go to award that every year. I know it's nothing, it's not a huge cost, I suspect, to do the small piece, but I think it's symbolic of our support of not just the members, but also the O.P.P auxiliary members as well. So I talked to Acting Inspector McTaggart in terms of total budget, similar to other things. If we are interested in this opportunity today, we can provide a maximum dollar amount that he can then go out and secure the commemorative plaque, and then the small engraving is nominal moving forward. So I'll open that up for, and did I miss anything in that?
You got it all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. So any discussion? So I'm suggesting a maximum budget of $200 for the auxiliary commemorative plaque, and then moving forward, it would be much less than that to do the engraving for the memorial award. Member Boudreau?
Yeah, I would certainly support that motion or second it, or make the motion, Madam Chair, if you so desire. And frankly, to me, it strikes me as something under community sponsorships, which is not something we've actually allocated funds for on a year-to-date basis. We are talking about community members volunteering here. It seems like an easy fit from my perspective. Thank you.
So we have Member Boudreau that's willing to put that forward as a motion. Anybody willing to second that motion? Member Brown? Okay, so any discussion on the motion? Seeing none? All those in favor of that? And that's carried. Thank you, everybody, for that support, and we'll leave it to you then to get the appropriate plaque for that anniversary, and then the thing, and then we can also include that then, Cindy, the smaller part of it in the budget moving forward under the community sponsorships, or however you, whatever part of the budget you feel is best appropriate for that. Thank you, everybody, for that. All right, we do have an in-camera item, so we will need a motion, please. Mayor Bailey, thank you. Seconded by Member Boudreau to go into camera. And, yep, go ahead, thank you.
Through the chair, the motion to go in camera will be that the County of Brant O.P.P. Detachment Board convene in camera to discuss Section 44.2G, information explicitly supplied in confidence to the board by Canada, a province or territory, or a crown agency of any of them, operational update.
Okay, so that's the motion. Everybody's good with that? All those in favor of that motion? That's carried. So we'll let our IT people We're back? Okay, thank you very much. So we're back in open session. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. Spencer, if you could email everybody out the details of the Remembrance Day services and what time they have to be at each of the places, that would be helpful. I know you've given them to me, but I know different people are going to be going different places. That would be helpful. Thank you to everybody for that. And our next meeting is Tuesday, November 25th. We don't have a meeting scheduled for December. It's only if we need it. So this will be our last meeting of the year. So that'll be November 25th here in council chambers. Hopefully we're all able to be here in person. It makes it easier. But I know we have to all get going for the rest of our day. So thank you very much and have a good rest of the day.